When working with categorical data like we see here, we're mainly interested in the counts and comparing counts. So this is non-smoker, occasional smoker, heavy smoker, occasional drinker, heavy drinker, non-drinker. So we're mainly interested in counts. Now one way to do these counts is to use a COUNTIF function, and that's with one criteria. So we might have a non-smoker and occasional smoker and heavy smoker and occasional drinker and heavy drinker and non-drinker, and I'd like to count the numbers of each in these categories, in these 8,000 plus rows. So one way to do this is this COUNTIF function. So it's COUNTIF, and there's two different types. We'll use this COUNTIF first. So we're going to count in a range. So here's the range of this category. And just to be different, I'm going to select both of these columns as my range, and then I'm going to look up this criteria, which you can't see, it's hidden, and we have that many non-smokers. And then if I drag this down, it looks all good, but you can see that I forgot to put the absolute references in there. So I should make these absolute references by using the F4 key, and then drag these down. So these are the total numbers of non-smokers and heavy smokers. Now we can also do a table, or a crosstab as they call it, where I'm going to take this information and cross-tab it with this information. So we'll do a paste transpose. And what we want to do is take this criteria range. I'm going to copy that so I don't have to select it again. And in here I'm going to do this COUNTIF function, COUNTIFS function, and it gives me a set of criteria. So I can have multiple criteria ranges and multiple criteria. So I'm going to paste that in there. So in that range, I want to look up that criteria. And in that same range, I want to look up this criteria. And I'm going to hit enter just to see what happens. And I get 0. Well, I know that that's not the case, that there are non-smokers and occasional drinkers. So the problem with this is that I need to look up E12 in just column B. So this needs to be column B. In the same way here, I need to look up F11, which is this one here, just in column C. And then that tells me how many non-smokers and occasional drinkers I have. Now if I want to drag this down or pull it over and things like that you'd normally like to do, it's not going to work so well. And it's because these references aren't quite right. And so this is a good exercise in looking at different ways that you can use this F12 or this F4 key. So in this case, this E12, when I pull it down, I want it to stay in the E column, the F and I want it to stay in the 12. Well, let me say that again. I want the column E to stay in the same place, but the 12 will go to 13 and 14. But when I move it to the right, the E is staying column E. And likewise, this F, I want the row to stay the same as I pull it down, and the column can change. So it can get kind of confusing. But if we drag this down, I can double click and it's like, yes, that's what I want. That's the way it should look. And likewise, if I drag this over and double click, yes, that is what I'm trying to look up. And then we could do totals. So there's the total in each row, and there's the total in each column, and these numbers match these numbers here. These are totals. And then we could create charts, and you can look through the different charts. They have lots of charts here, and you can see the different possibilities. Here's what the normal column chart would look like. Here's a stack chart that shows that the non-smokers, those are the blue, are the biggest number, or you could do a percent. So there you see that the non-smokers, which is the blue, are typically the largest percents, except if you're a heavy drinker. Now, the way that I prefer is to try to do things with pivot charts. And so if I insert, I'll try to do the same information with a pivot chart. I'll insert a pivot table and then do a pivot chart. And what I'm interested in is the smoking and the drinking and the people who smoke and drink. Now, this is the sum. See here it says the sum. It's like, well, what I really want is the count of people in those different categories. And these numbers should look familiar. They're the same numbers as we saw previously. And I could present this in different ways, doing a pivot. I think the other one I had smoking in the column. So this is at least similar to the other one. And then I could insert the same chart. I think it was a percent. Yeah, there's the percent. And it may not look exactly the same because these columns are perhaps ordered differently. They're ordered alphabetically, and so I might move this here, and it changes the way it looks. So that's two different ways of working with categorical data.